This is TWiT.
The question that we're confronting more and more often over the past few years is that, great, it works for you, but does it work for everybody? And is there a level playing field so that everybody has the same opportunity to have the same wonderful experience that you're having? And I don't think I think overregulation
the consumer?
I'm saying, is everybody having a really, really great experience here? And not everybody is. And what my
when you say everyone,
point,
what do you mean by everyone? Like everyone in the world?
I mean,
because we're talking about 7 billion people. You know, 5 billion that are kind of left out of it.
Yeah, but Alex, if developers are having a bad experience, that ultimately hurts consumers because apps that you would like to see or you don't even know you want aren't going to appear in the App Store.
How many apps?
Developers have to be happy too. They can't. It can't just be the end users.
What I'm getting at is that it is absolutely 100% appropriate for Apple and other companies to not have to simply, as a PR thing, say, no, it's a good thing for consumers that we pre-install our fee-based music subscription service, and we pre-install our fee-based movie streaming service, and our fee-based data storage service all built in, and we don't allow Spotify and other competitors to have that kind of advantage. No, it's all for the users. That's fine if Apple wants to say that in a PR statement, but I think it's 100% appropriate for lawmakers and investigators and antitrust people to say, go ahead and prove it. Give us the paperwork. Make the case in a court of law that this is not you're not helping to submarine other options by making sure that your stuff gets preloaded on every single phone, just to name one example, and that this is not something that makes it harder for other platforms to get their toe in the door on an iPhone. This is not. I'm not saying necessarily that Apple should be forbidden from pre-installing Apple Music on every iPhone, but I'm saying they have to. We're not going to take their word for it anymore. They have to demonstrate. They have to prove it.
I think I think that they should have to prove it in a court of law, not in Congress. That's the key. You know, like that. They should take it to a court of law and have it adjudicated all the way to the Supreme Court and see how it turns out. You know, but
are you okay with the FTC having that power? Are you okay with the Justice Department having that power?
As long as it ends up in the courts, sure. No, because Congress is not run by people who understand technology. Like, we just have to understand they're not our friends, and they didn't win a competency battle. They didn't win an intelligence score. They won a popularity contest, and that's who's making a decision about what we're going to use and whether we as Apple users are going to have the environment.
Alex, it sounds like you have an argument with the way America runs, and I'm going to have to call you out on that, because that's what we do in this society. We vote in representatives based on what we want them to do, and we have to give them that power, Alex. And you may not like it, but sorry, that's the way it works.
I think we as users need to just apply pressure. I'm not saying that it should be any other way. We just have to know that the people who are making these laws don't know what they're doing, and that we need to
disagree with you on that. And I think that we give them that power because society needs to regulate this stuff.
No.
And somebody has to do it. And you can say, well, I don't like the guys who are doing it. And you should absolutely go out and campaign for people who do know what they're doing. But that's the way it works here.
No, I'm saying that the people who, as Apple users, we have a choice right now, and that is to pick out the 6 or 8 people who created who publish these laws, and make sure that their phone rings. That's all. That we have a right to do that as a citizen,
and that's your duty as a citizen.
If these laws get through, it means that we, as the users, didn't do our job.
But it's a little bit of a cop-out to say, well, we can't let the government get involved in this because they don't know what the hell they're doing. That basically says we should let big tech decide what to do, period, end of story. And I don't think that that's an acceptable solution either.
Well,
so
I know.
You're right.
And
get involved. Get involved.
If you're a user and you want to have the environment that you have right now and you don't want to put it at risk, what you should be doing is calling those Congress people.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes. But I really dislike the narrative that government sucks because they're stupid, and so we shouldn't have any government, because that's a false narrative.
I didn't say that.
You did say that. You said you shouldn't let Congress regulate this because they don't understand technology.
They don't.
Yeah. Well, you should. You do have to let Congress, and you should let Congress regulate it.
But I didn't say there shouldn't be any government. I didn't say. I just want to make sure.
Well, you're implying that. You're saying Congress doesn't understand technology, so they should not regulate it. That's absolutely their duty and right. And if you don't like it, you should elect somebody else. But that's the way it works.
I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a government, though, or implying that there shouldn't be a government. I think that would be a horrible idea. I think what all I'm saying is that they should be very careful about sticking their nose into something they don't understand. That's the thing that, and generally, if it's a sure thing, the government will probably screw it up half the time. If it's an unknown, they'll screw it up almost all the time. And so the thing is it's fine, and we just need to. I'm not saying the government should not make any laws or it shouldn't exist or anything crazy like that. I'm just saying when you look at how deep these are, these laws, and how nebulous they are, where they give the government enormous amounts of power, and they're creating a new bureau, and they're creating, these aren't like little, like Apple can't do one thing, these are incredibly deep laws that we're talking about. These are not little scalpels. These are huge blades that they're talking about adding to it that give them almost unfettered right to do a whole lot of things that could damage our experience as Apple users. If it was a little law, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it's so nebulous. The laws are so poorly written and so open-ended that it basically lets the government do anything that they want to do in these areas. And so the thing is that if it was a better written law, more specific, I think that it would be fine. I think there's a lot of things. I mean, telling Apple they can't put their apps on, I don't think that's going to, because people will just put them on. But I don't think, but I think that starting to do things like side loading absolutely will affect our security, and create this huge mess for a user.
I'll just say that I've been talking to a whole bunch of people who have experience in not the people who don't work on government, but people who analyze laws and basically what they say a government can and cannot do. And they've been explaining to me about these 5 laws that are still being rewritten and still being argued and debated through Congress right now, not something that's been put up to a vote yet. And what they've been telling me does not put me in agreement with your conclusion of what these laws mostly encompass. I think that mostly what they're doing is they're putting the FTC and the Justice Department with power to do more than simply settle cases, which is something that they desperately need because right now they don't have the power to do jack. Facebook has had the ability to bust 2 major settlements with the FTC, and knowing that, look, if we bust these agreements, all we got to do is keep this thing in litigation and get to the point where the government is crawling on their knees to settle this, and we'll write them a check, and then we're done. We're beyond this. We need this is why one of these laws that I'm looking at, with giving the FTC the power to actually do stuff, saying, look, if here are whatever these rules are, we're not going to talk about the nature of these rules at this point. We're just saying that we're going to have the ability to absolutely to actually draw blood on these companies if you decide to be jerks on the level that Facebook has decided to be. I don't think that's a bad thing.
That's not representative government. That's handing the FTC a bureaucracy the ability to do damage.
All right,
well, that's their job. They're a regulatory agency. Yeah. Someone has to have the stick that can beat. Right now, we've got. I will wind this up. I'm sorry. I know we have.
I'm 100% behind you.
I will just
become a political conversation. That's
all I'm saying is that right now, Google controls the access point to the internet for so much of the world right now. By having created a brilliant search tool that works great, and they keep improving it. Facebook, there are many countries for which Facebook is the internet, and right now the idea that we don't have some bizarre radical right-wing or left-wing zealot running Google who says that no, anytime someone asks for information on this political issue, we're only going to give them information that supports our side of things, or we're going to do it in such a subtle way that people never figure out what we're doing. We're relying on their good graces right now for that. And at this scale, that's no longer good enough. So I'm just saying I'm very, very open to the idea of giving regulators more ability to make sure they put a little bit of the fear of God in them if necessary, saying that, no, you will not settle this in 8 years' time by giving us a check for $12 million. So we're not looking for a press release speaking issue saying, hey, look how we brought Facebook to its knees. We are going to make you get rid of your CEO because he's been lying to us time and time again. We're going to make you divest yourself of this part of your business, which you've told us twice over the course of 6 years that you are going to change the way you operate these businesses and not done anything about it. That's what I'm going for. And I don't have blind faith in the government, but I do believe that without regulatory agencies, they are like unions in the sense that individually citizens have no power to fight against a $2 trillion company. If people who are ordinary citizens can activate their government to say we don't want these companies to have this power over us on this specific issue, then we do have some power against these companies, and they can't just simply do whatever they want. So that's my point.
Well, they can if they pay them enough money.
Stop it.
I just want to say one thing.
Alex, you've got a very strong bias against
all I can say
this.
is no.
I understand.
Cable companies.
So work to improve it, but
we have bad internet.
I understand.
because they
I
pay
agree,
enough.
Alex. But the problem is, what you end up doing is you get people to just give up on government, and so the answer is not to give up on government, but to get better people in the office, lobby.
Well, I would say more directly to get the contacts for these congressmen and
get them the information. I agree with you. I agree with you. Get the information.
That's how we
But
stop
this is also
SOPA.
a process.
That's how we stop.
Those bills, and we did stop them, and that's the point. This is a process.
all you got to do is create
those
pain.
bills have to go through a lot of committee work. Courts will get
and
involved.
Get 60 votes.
It's a very elaborate system, and I think for the most part it works. But it's the only way we as a society have to express what we want from these big tech companies. The alternative is to let them run rampant, and I don't think that's the solution either. So we got to make it work, and we got to make it work better. But I really worry when you start arguing that way that what happens is people just give up on government, and I don't think that's the right answer at all.
Well, I don't think they should give up on government, but I think that they should know that beyond voting, we have the power to stop it by just simply picking up the phone.
Yeah,
that's
say
all.
that.
That's all I'm saying.
But you changed your tune a little bit, because what you said is you can't trust these guys to do anything about it, so we shouldn't let them. What you should do is inform them.
They're not going to respond. They're not going to respond by you arguing. They're not going to respond by you arguing the points, because they don't really understand the points. What they're going to respond to is X number of calls are coming in against it.
I agree with you. Yeah,
that's
get involved. Don't get uninvolved.
Very low.
The risk
solution.
of what you're saying is that people will get uninvolved. Get involved. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
Margaret Vestager in the by the way, it's not just going to be the U.S. and the EU is also saying, while I think privacy and security is of paramount importance to everyone, it's not a shield against competition. And she's pointing out that Apple might be using this. Well, sideloading is bad for privacy and security as a way of defending an anti-competitive stance. So you're going to have to face this as well. I mean, it's not just in the U.S., it's in the EU as well.
I will say that's something I'm very concerned about. That I believe that Apple is picking and choosing certain issues as smokescreens for things that they can't really defend. Like, why are they so violently opposing right to repair? They're not talking about stuff like that. They're talking about, it's ridiculous to force us to sideload apps because it creates a security problem. And yes, it would weaken the security of the iPhone. And I do agree that I don't think that sideloading is something that Apple should be forced to do. But okay, great. But Apple, we've got this other bushel basket full of other issues that are potentially anti-consumer that you don't want us to talk about. You want us to reject this entire concept based on the fact that part of these one or two of these issues are things that we agree with you on. We don't agree with you on everything. Don't assume that, and be open to talking about all these other issues that are part of that whole panoply.
I think it's fair to expect Apple to act in their own self-interest.
Oh, of course.
As all corporations do. And so somebody has to say, look, that might be in what you think is in your self-interest, but we the users are not as happy.
Well, we the users, it's in most of our interest. What it's really not in is in the developers who want to get in. I get that it's not in their interest, but as the user,
well, I'll give you an example,
really
Alex. Let's not use Epic, but let's use Microsoft's xCloud. Microsoft is not has decided not to fight this battle. But Apple will not let them put xCloud in as an app, so they have to use Safari as a browser so you can use xCloud, and it's a suboptimal solution. As a user, I would like to be able to play my Xbox games on my iPad, but because it has to be done in the browser, which Apple kind of poorly supports, it's not a very good experience. Who's that in the benefit of?
No, as a user, I guess I just don't care. Like, I would never play it on that. So,
well,
so
that's you. That's you. That's
what I was talking.
Let me tell you, as a user, I care.
Things are working great for you.
I do too, but
that doesn't mean for everybody.
Right.
And that's one of the things where I think Apple's going to have to change their mind based on overwhelming pressure from everybody who does care about it, which is an effective negotiation.
Yeah, and you can say, oh, look, it's just Apple versus Microsoft, but it's not. End users have a dog in this hunt as well.
Apple can be dumb. I mean, they're not a monoculture, and there's a lot of people there, and they have the same kind of arguments internally that we have on this show every week, probably every bit as passionately. I can just see Phil and Eddie throwing cards at each other in meetings, day in and day out over some of these things. But they're going to get things wrong, and they're going to fix those things, and they're going to get stuff just plain stupid. And the same way you want to apply pressure to governments, you got to apply pressure to companies, and that includes voting with your wallet, but also includes vocally. My video today was about why they made an iPad mini. Steve hated the idea. Kevin Toffel wrote an article about it in GigaOM. Eddie Q got the article, read it, went and bought a Samsung Galaxy Tab, and then convinced Steve and Tim they had to make this.
Good.
Good. So that stuff works.
I think Apple capitulating to pressure from the consumer totally makes sense. I think that it arbitrarily being changing the entire business model from a government perspective is the thing that puts us at danger of having something that, for me, is a core part of what I do, a core part of my day. Probably most of my day is on some kind of Apple piece of hardware, and I admit that I just don't want it to be messed with. Because it's it just means that my life will be.
But consumers don't always act in their own interest, and really Apple set it up quite cleverly. Apple will always say, well, you can just switch to Android and Windows. See ya. But they've set it up quite cleverly to keep people locked into the ecosystem.
Which was Microsoft's thing. They're still Apple. Don't come after us. They're still Apple. We'll give you some money and some stock. Yeah. They're still Apple.
By the way, good news. It looks like Apple might make a new iPad mini. I've been seeing rumors that's not dead, right?
An iPad Air Mini. An iPad Air Mini? iPad Mini Air?
Yeah.
I don't know which way a smaller version of the iPad Air.
This is Mark Gurman again, and he's very well connected. So let's hope that's the case.